dance for joy or lust or anger.
So welcome to Sensible Secondhand Classics, the series where we look at nostalgic cars that you can buy over 15 years old for a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000. This is a 1985 Toyota Carina 2 T150 1.6 GL liftback. But is it any good? Should you care? Let's find out, shall we? So the T150 type of Toyota Carina 2 was introduced in the spring of 1984. It replaced a rear-wheel drive Carina and actually was the fourth generation Carina that was sold in our market. The Carina 2 suffix was because this was very different from the previous Carina that had been rear-wheel drive and actually looked very different too. That Carina wasn't very popular over here. This T150 version was decidedly more popular actually. They only really imported one specification of the car, a GL model, very similar to kind of the fact that they only brought in the 1 litre GL Starlets at the time, and it must be something to do with the Japanese import quotas that were very tight at the time, where the Japanese car industry decided that they would only take, I think it's between 8 and 12% of the market, to keep the other manufacturers in this country happy about you know, the invasion, shall we say. Other markets got 1.8 and 2 litre engines, but this 1.6 4AL engine developed somewhere between 75 and 83 horsepower. There are conflicting statistics about it, but it seems willing enough. This one's an automatic. You can also get a 5-speed manual. To drive, actually, this is remarkably sort of smooth and compliant. The tyres are a slightly different size from original, so sometimes you do get, when you go over the bumps, a little bit of wheel arch rub on this, but so far it seems to be okay. The driving position actually is quite good. We've got this very spindly 2-spoke steering wheel, really reminiscent of 1980s Japanese cars in here. There were actually also some diesels available, but as usual, due to controversial government legislation and all kinds of other reasons, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. What we can talk about though instead is the fact that the executive grade that came in with the facelift in late 1985 was a bit more luxuriously equipped and had some very snazzy wheels on it. The wheels on this one, which are this original spec, I think they look okay, but I'm just more of an executive sort of person myself, as you might have gathered from all the things I've been saying on the channel so far. When the facelift came in, the 1.6 was up to 84.5 horsepower, and 0 to 60 was about 10.7 seconds. Even if this car has what I think is 75 horsepower, from the information Toyota have actually specified about historical Carinas, then it seems lively enough. You've got to remember the 1.6 Cavalier was about 75 horsepower, and I have driven a 1.6 Cavalier Auto once like that before. So here we are at quite a busy departure lounge cafe in Alton for Classic Car Sunday. But yes, here is the Carina 2, the T150 version, released into the UK market in the spring of 1984. This is a pre-facelift one, it dates from March 1985. Later on in 1985, they introduced the facelift, which included things like colour-keyed bumpers and different wheel trims and things like that. And also at the same time, there was a new variant that was introduced, because the only ones until that point had been GL models. There was a GL Executive introduced with a 1.6 engine, like the one that this one has. One thing to be aware of if you're going to buy a T150 Corona or Carina 2 is look around the rear hatch glass like this. If it's starting to get rusty, this can actually blow the rear screens out if you're not careful. So get that addressed at some point, but that's okay at the moment. Got the original dealer plates on this one. Mileage garage which is in Brighton. I think when it was sold by Fox of Badger's Mount, which was a Brighton plate originally. This is the liftback version. There was also a saloon made. The GL specification was the one that was most common over here, even when the Executive came in with a facelift. It's actually very similar inside in terms of space to sort of like a Mark II Vauxhall Cavalier. I think really that was what they were sort of going for. There were other engines available in other markets and things like that, but in our market there was a gentleman's agreement that they weren't going to actually sell too many of these. Japanese importers were sort of you know, accused of being a cartel and whatever, so they decided to limit the sales. I think it was to about 8% or top end of the market, I think. So if we get in here, mind all the noise in the background, I apologise for that. It's just the way that it goes around here. So there's the ashtray back there. We've got mat pockets. Not got a centre armrest. We have got split folding seats though, which is good. This car's actually very comfortable. I've travelled in the back of the car for journey actually here, and it's not difficult to see why a lot of these became taxis and things like that. So the very, very typical mid-80s Japanese velour, and in fact these door cards look even earlier than that. They look to me sort of early 80s. The Executive got things like electric windows, electric mirrors, things like that. The GL does not have that. In fact, most GL models, like sort of like a Sierra GL, wouldn't have had them either. The Executive got the option of air conditioning. This has a place for the button, as you can see there, but no air conditioning. The overseas Coronas might have got that. This one, of course, didn't. Light headliner, sort of typical sort of like a sort of Volvo 240 or something. The headliner in this. There goes a Lotus XL, followed by, I think it's a little Austin. So yeah, nice variety here. Maybe if I remember, I'll put a link to the description below the free shop shops for today. So you can actually adjust for lumbar support as well on the driver's seat. That is actually the door handle to get out. That is how you get out of the car, by lifting that up. It's not immediately obvious to where it is, and so I got stuck in here for a bit whilst actually looking for it. Not high adjustable seat belts. I think really in another way this would be quite similar in a way to something like a Montego. A little bit bigger than perhaps a Maestro. Of course the Montego's only offered as a saloon, whereas you couldn't get an estate version of this, and you could get a Montego estate. Take a look, take the key out of here and open up the boot. Okay, that Volvo 360 behind me is leaving. There we go. Okay, so if we just turn this round, perhaps this opens up the boot. Yes, it does. There we go. Because you have to actually like pull on the key, which is quite bad for the lock barrel, I imagine. And there we go. The gas struts work. That's good. We've got a spare alloy in here, and look at that boombox in there. That is extraordinary, isn't it? It's got a lot of space. We've got a two-piece parcel shelf in there. It's typical of cars of this time. I think the Rover 200s have that as well, actually. Yeah, a bit awkward sort of to open up the boot. Maybe you're supposed to use another, you know, another hand or something to do it, but you can't. Oh, you can just do that. What a silly person I am, viewers. Even more silly than usual. To close that properly a little while. Right, stay. No, we're not going to stay. Okay, we'll have to just hold you so I don't get crushed by the door. Done it. Oh, okay. So we've got an aftermarket stereo in here. I don't know what would have been in the middle originally. There's just a blanking plate in there. So there's those ventilation controls again, with the air conditioning sort of blacked out, because you didn't get that in this country unless you went for an Executive, and it was an option on that. It's a 3-speed auto with overdrive. This one, you could get also a 5-speed manual. Obviously the instruments are very, very sort of typical what Chris Goffey would have said, early Japanese. But we have got a rev counter. We've got an oil, I think an oil temperature gauge. I don't think it's a level. I think it's an oil temperature gauge. So your door open, more like quartz clock. It'd be quite fancy stuff, and you know, a car like this. You wouldn't have necessarily got this in all the competitors at the time. Very normal looking handbrake, just very, very sort of typical Japanese interior in the mid-80s. And there is the overdrive light there for the automatic gearbox. Very typical as well, steering wheel. Internally adjustable mirrors, but no electric adjustment. That was for the executive. Fog lights on there. Reheated window. And I think the hazard switch is just that thing there. Door pockets are quite generous. Or not overtly so. I don't know what this was. That's very strange. What on earth was that? Who knows? Right, I think we'll have a look under the bonnet, shall we? So here we go, the Toyota 4AL engine. In this case, I think it's generating 75 horsepower. The facelifted 1.6 Carina 2s actually got 84.5 horsepower. This is 11% down. I've seen though another statistics which says that all the UK market 1.6s all got 83 horsepower. So I'm going to go with the Toyota literature where I found that. Say that the early ones are 75 like this and later ones are 84.5, but you know, I could be wrong. Cam belt engine, we could, you know, we've got a weep from one of the cam covers probably in here. You know, that's pretty common for something like this, but generally quite a reliable engine. We do have a cam belt though, so you've just got to be aware of that. As you can see, we've got a thing there at the back which tells we've got automatic transmission in this one. There's a motor number and everything like that. I like the front end with the fog lamps as well. I think I prefer the later wheel trims, but that's really a minor thing. I mean, if you're complaining about that sort of thing, when there are like, I don't know, 15 or something of these left on the road in this country, it's something stupid like that, then shouldn't really be getting fussy. Right, I suppose we'll have to go for another drive then. It seems to be emptying out here. Lloyd Young Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. We'll see in a second what the handling's actually like. It's not a sports car by any means, but it'll probably be a bit better to drive than those older Carinas were with rear wheel drive. So if we go into this corner, join the A31 here, see how it goes. Yeah, it's all very safe and predictable. It's not actually got as much body lean as I thought it would. This isn't an HCV or anything like that. Yeah, very, very pleasant, very predictable. Right, let's put our foot down and see if we can get out into this traffic. Oh gosh, that's noisy. We have got an overdrive on this auto gearbox. I think we'll actually make sure that we've got that. There we go. One thing about this car is that when you're going 70 miles an hour in the overdrive on the automatic gearbox, it's only turning over 2,500 RPM, so actually cruising speed is quite agreeable at this, which I didn't really expect. Yeah, for a car from this sort of era, it feels good. I think maybe the Cavalier handles a bit better on this. Steering's not quite as nice, but it's still pretty good. We've got power assistance, probably why it feels a little bit on the light side. Yeah, brakes feel good as well. It's a pretty nice car, this. So viewers, the T150 Toyota Carina 2 or Corona, depending on what part of the world you're in. Is this a car that you should consider for a budget between £1,000 and £5,000? Well, it depends if you can find one. I mean, it's quite a nice, comfy car. I can see why people bought these for their families if they could get around the Japanese import quotas back in the day. And actually, this car was quite well received by the press at the time. I think the later T170 Carina 2 is a little bit better car than this, but actually, for the standards of the time, I think it's quite pleasant. Anyway, thank you to Mr. Brisbane once again for letting me drive his lovely car. Thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video and comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more reasonably priced nostalgic motoring.